Life inspired by poetry.
Let's give it some lip.
Ta-da.
All right. Well, welcome back to another edition of Life Inspired by Poetry with me, Ginna, and
TB.
TB. Yeah, it's so great to be with you again. I can't wait to chat about these poems. These poems that we've chosen for today say a lot about our choices in life.
And I think ultimately it's about how we choose to live, not only the discourse we have around the things that we do, but how we choose to live. Like, I've just gotten back from Europe, and a lot of things are in my head at the moment, and just the way society is evolving. And I think, by the way, these are two of my favorite poems that I grew up with. So it was really great to see them like on the agenda, because they're words that I often live by there as I think about the choices I make and why I make the choices.
And not just the choice itself, but how you feel about that choice too. Like after you've made the choice, owning the choice and not allowing the choice to own you.
And I can say that was a thing I reflected on when I was in Berlin. I was in Berlin recently, and to see how Berlin has owned its past and it's very much a part of its present. You can see the Constitution like on etching out in public so that everyone knows what it is. And the Berlin Wall is filled with, artistic impressions of life, the separation between East and West. And I think that, that was an awakening for me. And that just the transparency around it.
And the transformation of it, what it used to represent with what it represents now.
And what it represents for different people.
Exactly.
And what it represents for different people.
Yeah, and I think, depending on when you're listening to this, we can all understand that the world is very complex and chaotic, and there's some tragic things that are happening in our world right now.
And that saddens me. I think one of the things as a poet, I'm coming to terms with is, what is my role in trying to curate something better?
Yes. And I think that's what poetry tries to draw attention to, those areas in our life where we are not holding up the best versions of ourselves. So either that and like trying to expose it or celebrating aspects that we are doing well.
And acknowledging that this is who we are. Like, I've had that discussion about whether or not we're in complexity and chaos. And for me, it's chaotic. Like, I can't predict anything anymore. The unexpected is almost always expected.
Yes.
and I feel like there's a sadness to that, because then I'm always in the state of spin. And I think the words are like, fermenting in my head at the moment about how best to describe this and what role do I play as a poet to bring this to other people's attention. So I've been writing more than I'd ever written before.
Oh, I can't wait to read some of your new stuff
this is
as
good.
well.
This is
yeah,
good.
and that's interesting, that idea of a lack of foundation, a lack of an anchor.
Yeah.
Something that I think resonates with a lot of people during chaotic times. And I guess in some ways we've got to find that outside of events and more internally through perspective of things. And I think that's what these two poems are really trying to awaken us to.
And I think it's digging deep, right?
That's
right. Both I think are really a pause to dig deep.
That's right. Yeah. Well, let's dig into them ourselves.
I'm excited.
All right, so I think I'm going to go first
with
A Psalm of Life. This is by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, and dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act, that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present, heart within and God o'erhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
My soul has been released.
Some beautiful, beautiful lines, phrases, images within that poem. This is one of the ones that I return to over and over again because you can just hear the hope, the fullness, the grasping life by the reins and holding on. I love Longfellow.
And the agency, you know, because for me, this is about the agency we have to do and to act and to pursue and all of those things, you know. And I think we often look at life as the path to death and, you know, calls it out. It's like, it's not the path to death. It's all the things in between.
Or we're a spectator in it.
Yeah.
No, you're an actor.
We are.
On the stage.
So we have to
do something.
We have to have agency. We have to have agency.
Yeah.
You know, wow. Like, I wish that this could be the thing that everyone wakes up to every morning.
Yeah.
To say, yes, it starts with me.
It starts with me.
And this is how I can contribute to a brighter tomorrow.
That's right.
A better future. This is a role that I play.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me not life is but an empty dream.
Yeah.
Like, what we do matters.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes society can move in a way that it can seem as though the individual might not have as strong a role and purpose as we really do.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we do get to that almost overshadowing of individual resolve and will, it creates a generation or a community that sits back, is passive. And I think this poem is just reminding us now, be active.
Yeah.
Be like you said, be an agent in your own life.
Yeah, and that's why the agency comes to mind for me. It's that this is all about not, even though it talks about this world around you, you're very much, you know, an integral part of what happens, and what you do matters.
That's right.
Right? And it's not like you're born and then you die. It's all the in-between.
Yeah. What there's that quote, I can't remember who says it, that, you know, you have your birth date and your death date, but it's the dash in the matter that matters.
Exactly. Exactly. That's where all this stuff happens.
That's where it is. And that's where you leave your footprints on the sands of time.
And the legacy, so it's, you know, we have to think beyond just our lifetime, right? I think of the last verse in this, and it's, let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. And it's a patience of, sometimes we don't pursue things because we don't have the patience
or
for
you're
them,
not going to see
the
you're not
what happens,
the resonance of what it is you're doing. So just wait, keep doing, whether or not you're getting the accolades, whether or not you're seeing the change. Like, find those things that you have a conviction for, stand up for them, make your voice heard, do things for those that are less fortunate, be kind in all situations. I mean, we could go on forever about ways that we might be able to implement this poem into action, but just choose one thing, one thing new this week to do, and then reflect on it after you've done it every day this week. I bet you'll be. It would be like transformed.
And I even start with the title of the poem, "The Sum of Life." Like, if for anyone who's been to church, you know,
Yeah.
Psalms are good, right? Yeah. They're the things that...
Song of praise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, if this were to be the thing for us as humans, would we lead to a better world? And I think we would. I think individually it would be more fulfilling, but also think of the collective good that it would produce.
Yeah. And that's going back to that idea of the overshadow of the individual. If everything just becomes about the collective, then nothing is done for specific individuals or groups or things like that. And so I just feel as though we need to, again, look around us. There's somebody around you who needs a hand right now with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do it. You know?
I agree. How do we get this on everyone's agenda, right?
Right.
How do we get everyone to wake up with a sense of purpose? And the purpose is not just for oneself.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I live and then I die. Like the dash in between, right? That's where the real things happen.
It's being present in those conversations, hearing where someone is, and seeing how you might be able to touch them at that place, wherever they are, you know. So if somebody, you know, you're talking to somebody, a colleague, and you're just picking up, oh, you know what? I'm not sure they're in the best state of mind. Yeah. Just ask a few little questions. How you doing? Are you sure? Is everything good? How's the family? Yeah. Do you know? Because if people know that you care, then they will share. Yeah. And then you don't have to have the answer. Sometimes you just have to be that sounding board, that shoulder that they can lean on. Like, you're not putting yourself in a position to be the expert on whatever it is someone's going through, but just to know that they're not alone, that's huge.
And you know what's interesting about what you just said is I was recently watching a documentary on the blue zones where there are more centurions living in the zones. I think it's on average there were 10 times the other populations. And one of the unifying principles that you would find in all of these blue zones are the sense of community. It's not, yes, it's genetics, yes, it's nutrition, yes, it's lifestyle, yes, it's all of those things. But an important part of that is being in a community where you have people who care. Oh, yeah. And you have people who reach out. So when you think of all of the medicinal things that you can look at this poem as bringing to the table, that's one of them. Yep. It's a society in which we're not all passive bystanders, that's right, but we're active participants in the society in which we live. Yep. And importantly, the one we want to leave behind for others, right? Yep,
that's right.
You know, because long after death, after my death and your death, there will be others. What do we leave behind for them? Do we destroy everything?
What can they pick up and take?
And it's a psalm of life,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
It's of life. So the significance of that, Wordsworth here for me is just, nailed it. Yeah. If you can say that, just nailed it.
Yeah, Longfellow is just he's on it, you know, and he gets to that idea, and I just come back to it. Yeah. Don't be a spectator in your own life. Be in the game. No. A sports metaphor. Can you believe it?
I know. I use it on occasion.
Yes. Well, let's move on to Robert Frost, who has something similar, and this is also about making an active choice. Yeah. So let's hear about this one.
Okay. The road not taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though, as for the passing there, had worn them really about the same. And both that morning and equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first on the other for the other day, yet knowing how ways lead on to way, I doubt if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverge into a wood, and I took the one least traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
I love this poem because there's such an irony and nuance to what it's saying. Yes. Because it ends with, I took the one less traveled by. Yeah. But when you go back to the opening, it says that they were both equally, about the same, really
Yeah.
about the same.
Yeah.
I looked down as far as I could to where it bent in the road, then took the other, just as fair, about the same.
Yeah.
So
Nothing
really,
distinguishable, really.
exactly,
Yeah.
really, it's not the path that was taken.
No.
It's the owning of the choice.
Yeah. And I saw that as the journey, right? As the journey.
Exactly.
I took the one, so this is for me, I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference.
That's right.
So it's what he's able to see
he
as part of
perceived.
that journey.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
journey.
He perceived that journey.
Yeah.
He perceived that, less traveled by,
Yeah.
owned that choice.
Yeah.
I took.
Yeah.
There's no passivity.
No.
I had taken. No,
No.
I took.
I took.
It's a very active.
I took.
Yeah.
And at the end you realize the gratification that came from that. It wasn't like I took and I was sorry that I did that. It wasn't making apologies or wondering what the other was. I took, and that made all the difference.
Yeah.
So I owned the choice.
That's
I
right.
owned what I did. I made the best of it.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
And I love that. I love that there is even that pondering of, like, I saved the other for another day.
Yeah.
But knowing how path leads on to path,
Yeah.
way leads on to way, that I'd never come back. And it's so true. I think of, like, the choices that we make as kind of veins
Yeah.
in the body, or even, waterways, and how you take one and it leads you here, and it might sprinkle off this way and stream off that way. And
Yeah.
you very rarely come back to that original place where you made that choice.
And what I loved about this, like, you start from the title again, The Road Not Taken, it sort of sets you up to talk about the choices that we didn't make, but instead throws a curveball in and goes, this is the one
Yeah.
I took.
Almost-
It's not the I wondered what would have happened had I done that.
That's right.
This is the one I took.
Yeah. Our speaker is
Yeah.
not sitting in a place of longing for something that never came to be.
Exactly.
Or lamenting the fact that I
greener
didn't.
grass on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's, I had a choice.
I took this.
Both choices were about the same.
Yeah.
I chose this one because it seemed
Yeah.
a little less popular
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And it's made all the difference.
Yeah, but that's also going against the grain of everything else, right? It's like you don't have to follow what everyone else does, right? You can still make choices that are good for you, and it doesn't have to be like everyone else. And that's what I love about this. When I first read this in my youth, it was about finding my own unique identity and my own choices and being free to be me. Yeah. So for me, this was a spirited soul of not about the regrets of the things I wanted or thought I wanted because I didn't experience them. It was about, these are the choices I make with my life, and now I have to own them. And this is what I loved about it. And I will say to you that I think it has shaped my identity in many ways, and that be free to make the choices that you make and to not regret them.
That's right.
And to own them,
Yeah.
and to be happy with them.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the things that you don't do. Worry
not
about the
fret
things that,
over what didn't
exactly. Exactly.
Because you're not there.
You're not there.
You're here. I mean, that's what we've been saying. Own it, love it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like where this is, move.
Yeah.
Take a new, make a new,
And
path.
so what if it's not popular? It's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So what if it's not popular? It's okay. So both of these for me are the function is really about discovery of self and understanding the life that we choose to live, the choices that we make, and our individual responsibility that comes with that. That it isn't about the external, it's about the internal. But what we do affects all things.
That's right.
So it doesn't mean that we get to do all the wrong things and just say, well, it's about me. But there's an ownership to it. And that's what I love about them. And I often use them. And many people, I think, even if you haven't read the poems in their entirety, I guarantee you there are phrases in here that you will repeat and you don't know why, because at some point in your life you've been exposed to it, right?
And it resonates.
And it resonates. It's just words that they seep into the head and it just never leaves until it comes out of my mouth. But yeah, so
That's wonderful.
both really beautiful. and written as though they were today,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You would never tell the age of the poems
No.
by listening to them because it is so, so contemporary for me.
Yeah.
It is about the world in which we live in today and who we are.
And probably even more so in some
Yeah.
ways,
Huh?
because technology has created a little bit of in my opinion,
Yeah.
a bit more passivity
Yeah.
when it comes to our active role within society and community.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
It's easy.
I agree.
It's easy to just sit and scroll. It's scary
And to
interact
and to
do
follow
something.
and to follow the path that's been paved for you by something else. I look at the following that people do with stuff I will never understand, but I'm not criticizing it.
It's all
I just
different.
won't understand
Everyone's
it.
different.
But I look at that and I think, just imagine if that time was spent on self-discovery or self-awareness or getting the agency around the things you want. So it brings me back to that, is that, and I think that both of these poems I would have been introduced to in primary school or maybe middle school.
That's great.
So I think of that, is that the place? That's a
Yeah.
place that, young people should engage with these things to just see. The world hasn't really changed that much.
I know.
It hasn't changed that much. And what are we going to do about it? Do we want to see things better, or are we happy with it? So I find the world a bit uncomfortable for me at the moment. Is the only word. That it's a sense of discomfort in that we're probably too in the pocket about things that I think we should care a lot more about. But I think we'll get there in time. I just don't know what it is, and I hope that the writers of this world, whether or not they're authors of books or short stories, or whether or not they're photographers, whether or not they're artists in their art, whether or not they're poets, they will help us see the reflection of who we've become as a society through their works. That's what I hope. I hope more people go and see those things and look at it as, what's that mirror telling me?
Yeah.
What am I seeing in the mirror? Because I don't think we're seeing it outright.
And that might be, still going back to social media and everything, that we don't do that self-reflection as much as we do judgment of what we're viewing. External viewing instead of internal reflection.
Yeah. And the need to do that. Why? Why? It's, why are we here? And what responsibility, importantly, do each of us have to create a better there, right? If that's the end goal, is to create a better there.
That's what we want.
Yes.
That's what poetry tries to do.
I know. So how do we get more people to read poetry?
Well, this is one way.
We're trying.
Yes, that's right.
We're trying.
We came up with that one idea to do some TikTok poems.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't started that yet.
No.
Maybe we'll get to that.
Deep down, I struggle with TikTok, but that's okay. I have to
We could find another form.
No, we could do that. I believe that you have to
Go
where they are. And all I care about is that people read a little bit more, engage more with the creative intelligence that we have in our society, because it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
It can help us to a better place.
That's right.
And be inspired.
That's right. And I really hope that maybe one line or a couple lines from the poems that we read today will resonate with someone who listens to this, and that will become the phrase that they repeat.
Yeah.
And that keeps them motivated, keeps them active, keeps them looking for ways to be present within the world.
And if you have children, I would really love for you to read these poems to your kids. I think it can put them in a better headspace.
Oh, so much.
Much better headspace.
So much.
Yeah.
We'll have to do I think we'll need to do one of our podcasts on mental health.
We do.
Yeah.
And start with the positivity that both of these have given. Both poems are the psalm of life that I live by, thinking about the in-between and the road not taken about, owning the choice I've made and being happy with it.
Being content in this life.
Being happy with it.
We're always searching, trying to get the next thing. Be present and content with where you are, but keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Don't get complacent.
And it's funny you said about that content, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine about happiness and being content. And I said, I consider myself happy, but my definition of happy is probably different than most people. Happiness for me is having more good days than bad.
Yeah.
But I can see how that could be. People can say that's content. But for
Yeah.
me, you're not going to be in euphoria every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
I think that's an unexpected things. And how do I know I'm happy? Because I've had a bad day. Whenever I've had a bad day, the next one is great, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if we could all come to terms with leveling the realistic expectations of what it is to be human on this planet at this time, right? Not over expecting, not over correcting, not over engineering these things, but understanding that they're principles by which we live our life, the psalm of life. It's not about life and then birth and then death.
That's right.
It's all the in-betweens. And then the choices that we make, that we can look at things and we can see two different things, right? And it's okay. We can try to search, to see which one's going to be better. But in the end, the one that you take will make all the difference to you. That's the experience.
Yeah, and you
that's
can
the journey.
spend all your time bemoaning the one you didn't do,
Correct.
or you can love the one you're on.
It's, is it a
And make the
loss or
best
is
of
it
it.
like a gain?
Exactly.
For me, it's a gain. I've
Yeah.
discovered something.
Yeah.
And so thank you very much for reintroducing the poems. And I hope everyone out there who's had a chance to read these, go back and reread them. If you haven't read them before, please share.
Yes.
I mean, it's the important aspect of it.
That's right.
Okay.
And just continue to find these ways that we can be inspired
Yes.
by poets from the past and present.
And my life has been so inspired by poets. And I hope I can give that to someone else, is to find how they help me make sense of the world.
That's right. And I love it. I love that we get to share this.
I do.
with
This
others
is like
as
the
well.
best part of my day.
I know, it's so good. Well, thank you, TB, so much for joining me again. I'm glad that I was able to find these poems that resonated so well with you from the time you were young.
Yeah.
And that they still resonate now. And thank you for sharing your insights.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
And I have to say, you and I are not the same in many ways, and we all end up with the same poems. So there must be something here,
There must
right?
be something about these
There must
poems.
be something here that's getting people that are so different to come together.
That's right.
Like if you had said to me, we'll end up selecting the same poems, I go, no, that's not possible. And yet we do, because I think we're all looking for, that betterment, that place that we can all come together, and we're all at that point, and we can find common ground in this.
It's excellent. Isn't that so good?
Yeah.
I love it.
So thank you, Ginna. I really
problem.
appreciate it. This has made my month, I would say.
Very good.
And
I'm glad to have you back.
Yes.
And everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you join us next time on
Life inspired by poetry.
Let's Give It Some Lip.
Ta-da.